without further ado, we present Scrooge and Unscrooged, work by Cal Beekman, a one-man play.
Oh, you're here already. Wasn't expecting y'all to be here till later. So, y'all came here to see how much old Ebenezer Scrooge has changed, huh? Well, let me put the rumors to rest. It's all true. The old miser that you knew before is gone. The tale of how that happened may seem a little unrealistic, maybe, might be the word, but trust me, it all seemed real, because it wasn't too long ago. Now, the old Scrooge, whenever he saw a Bible, would most likely just toss it in the trash. This Bible was actually left here by my clerk, Bob Cratchit, the most annoying Christian I've ever known. But he's been really good to me over the years. I really appreciate what he's done. So, the tale of how Scrooge changed. It began like any other night. I had locked up and traveled home. As soon as I got to my front door, I heard the faint moaning of something. I couldn't tell what it was. I unlocked my door, and there in my door knocker, I could have sworn I saw the face of Jacob Marley. I must have been that tired. But I could go in my house, start walking up the stairs to my bedroom, and yet I keep hearing this moaning and sounds of chains. I'm like, okay, what are the neighborhood kids up to now? I get to my bedroom, and that noise keeps getting louder and louder. And as I'm standing before you now, all of a sudden appears the spirit of Jacob Marley. Okay, this had to be a dream because he's been dead for 7 years now. What's he doing in my house? And as you're reporting this for your newspaper, keep in mind this is all adequate stuff. I'm not making it up, trust me. He basically tells me that the chains I bear are longer than the ones he has. Okay. Didn't know I was wearing chains. Okay. He goes on to, but it sounds, to me it sounded like he was trying to say my time was almost up. I'm like, yeah, no. The world is not going to be rid of Ebenezer Scrooge that easy, let me tell you. He tells me that 3 more spirits are going to come into my presence last night. I'm like, I'm having trouble just dealing with you. Why would I want 3 more? So I go into bed, totally forgetting what just happened because, yeah. And as soon as I think I'm going to sleep, I hear the sound. I open up the bed curtain, and there's this little spirit floating around that's no much older than a child. She addresses herself as the spirit of Christmas past. My past, to be precise. Not something I was looking forward to reliving. There was several things in my past that I would like to forget and still want to. So I take her hand and we start traveling back through time, which was a trip, let me tell you. So I start seeing scenes of my childhood and young adult with commentary from the spirit, which was unnecessary. Then we got to the part where I was dreading the most. Belle. Literally the one who got away. She was a relative of my old boss, Fezziwig. And we had been engaged for quite some time, but kept running into snags trying to figure out our wedding date. Then one Christmas, we were sitting in the park, and she pretty much tells me she was done. That my love of money beat out my love of her. Of course, as I'm watching this take place, it felt like it was just yesterday when all this was happening. I thought I had Belle completely out of my mind after all these years. I couldn't take it anymore. I told the spirit that I was done. We needed to leave. So I'm back in my bedroom, trying to go back to sleep again. And then from my study, I'm hearing loud laughing that sounded like Santa Claus. I'm like, since when is Santa Claus a spirit? And what's he doing in my study? Because I'm pretty sure I had been a really bad boy. And I wasn't really wanting to see how much coal was in there. So I go to my study, and he's sitting on this big stockpile of presents. And of course, he says he's the ghost of Christmas presents. Ignoring the irony of that, he takes me into a few hours into the day, which is Christmas Day. Of course, I'm still invisible like I was when we were in the past. Nobody can see me with all their bustling and Christmas celebrating. And then I started to wonder, after all the happiness and cheer I was seeing, maybe I had been wrong about Christmas all these years, despite everything that I had endured. He takes me over to my nephew's house, who I have never really treated all that great. Probably because he was the only child of my sister and who sadly passed away several years before. I always regarded him for that. He and his wife are having a little Christmas party like they do every year. And he always tries to invite me to. So they're sitting around talking, and all of a sudden, I come up as a subject. Of course, my ears pop up and like, what are these fools talking about? I'd rather not repeat what was said, because it would be inappropriate for you to print. Let me tell you. So I'm like, yeah, let's leave. I've heard enough. He takes me over to Bob Cratchit's house. I did not know he had so many children. And a little side note, and please don't print this because I don't want Bob knowing I said this. I had a dream once where Cratchit was a frog and he was married to a pig. And my bookkeepers were talking mice. Don't ask me where that came from. It must have been something I ate. Trust, yeah, no. I think I woke up screaming that night. But yeah, so I'm watching the Cratchits have fun. Then I caught eye on one child they had. They called Tiny Tim, a cripple. And just the way that he looked at life, even though he was in critical condition. Thinking of it as someone who might have cancer or AIDS, but like they don't let that stop from living life, no matter how bad the prognosis can look. So I asked the spirit about the child. All he told me was, if the events remained unaltered, there would be an empty chair in the corner with a crutch without an owner. I'm like, no, this child cannot die. That would totally destroy Bob if that happened. Of course, as this is happening, the spirit is starting to leave and tells me to get ready for the ghost spirit of Christmas future. I'm like, it's bad enough I saw the past, I have to see the future now? What kind of trip is this? So that spirit leaves and the spirit of future appears. Looked a lot more like death. I wasn't too sure about this one. So he starts showing me what he needs to see. There was this little alley down the way that had people going through their stolen loot that they just got. Some of it looked kind of familiar. I couldn't put my finger on it. So I didn't really think much of it. Then we got back to Bob Cratchit's house. No joy. No laughter. Just Bob and his wife. Barely trying to even live. Because like the previous spirit said, in the corner was the chair and the crutch. No Tiny Tim. We go to the graveyard where Tim is buried. I see the grave and I'm like, spirit, no, there has to be some way to change this. This can't be happening. He points me into the direction of another grave, one that's covered with snow. you can't really see the name of it. He keeps drawing me closer and closer to that one. I'm like, okay, what's going on? All of a sudden, the snow blows off the grave tomb. Ebenezer Scrooge. Okay, no, no. There has to be a way to change this. These events cannot be happening. It was there right then that I did something that I should have done years before. I just looked up, asked God to forgive me of everything that I had done in the past, everything that people would think I would do in the present and future. I asked Him to not make any of this happen. That something had to change from the scenes I had seen. Right then, everything went dark, and I thought, okay, that must not work because this must be it. I'm gone. I wake up in my bedroom. Sun is shining. I open up my windows and it's Christmas morning. I'm alive. I made it through. What seemed like a dream, I'm sure was not a dream. Make sure your readers know that. I'm like, thank you, Lord. You heard me. From now on, that Scrooge that you knew before was gone. And I knew exactly where I had to go first. The Cratchits. You would think they'd probably get tired of me, but like I said, they didn't even see me. So it's not like I was never there to begin with. I had stopped by the butcher's to pick up a turkey to surprise the Cratchits with, because we all know I don't pay Bob enough to buy food. That was going to change.
Wow.
I take it over to their house. His wife's a little hesitant to let me in because she knows how I've treated Bob in the past. But I assured her that that person was gone for good. And I told Bob that I would help him in any way with Tiny Tim. I was not going to allow that alternate world to happen without me or without Tiny Tim. So, yeah. Even though the sign still says Scrooge and Marley outside, it's going to be changing to Scrooge and Cratchit. I am making him my new partner. I'm sure Marley would approve, because he's dead, so how could he not? Well, I have taken enough of your time. You have a story to go print. And I have a post-Christmas dinner to get to. So, thank you for your time. And even though it's still a few days after, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.